I'm Travis Brown, founder and CEO of Mojo Marketing and Media. And this is my podcast, where I talk to the most successful Black and brown business executives who've broken through the barriers of today's business culture. Welcome to the Diverse and Talented Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Brown, and today I have LaVall Jordan, coach extraordinaire, with me. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Finally.
Yeah,
Finally.
Took some time. So you have this head coach of Butler, UW Milwaukee, assistant for Michigan, Big Ten champion, played in the Natty, Iowa. Like when you were coming out of playing, is this how you thought of it? Is this how you dreamed it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I know you were excited to ask that question. I had no inkling whatsoever. I always say coaching is a calling because I wanted to play. Obviously, like most players, and make that last as long as I could. But God had something different in mind, and so I just fell into coaching. I got an injury. We moved back from. My wife was working in Maryville, Indiana at the time, so I was kind of home base from there, go overseas and go back to, I was in Huntsville, Alabama, the G League, D League back then.
Yeah, right.
Throwback. And then, so we moved back to Indy, and Todd Licklider was the head coach at Butler and had a operations spot. So I started off director of operations. He was like, hey, you don't know what you want to do? Try this out and see what you think. If nothing else, you got a job for a year. And then next thing you know, it grew from there.
So talk a little about the, I think people think about coaching, they think about it being very glamorous, right?
Yeah.
But those early starts are the grind, so talk about like that director of operations job. Like what do you do in that job? Like what's the behind the scenes of that?
Yeah, I'm thankful that I did it because when I became a head coach, you just have an idea of what everyone else is going through. So you have some empathy. And so in that job, it's all the logistics from, ordering meals to booking hotels and flights and buses for travel, pickups and drop-offs and the whole deal, uniforms and gear and equipment, putting together a student manager team, that can come in and be there to be available to the coaching staff. Academically, you had the liaison responsibilities between the staff and the academic coordinator and campus housing and all the things to get players situated and make sure things are running smooth as admissions, financial aid, Pell Grants, just all the things that to take off coach's plate so he can, so the staff can worry about game planning, development, and scouting.
And so then once you move out of that role, your next level is just assistant coach, or is there like,
I didn't
talk about the levels here.
I was not ready. So we had an assistant depart, and Todd came to me and said, hey, I'm gonna bump you up and promote you. So at the time, I'm 24, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm ready for that, coach. And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. And then it was like sink or swim. And thank goodness I was working with good people. I was working alongside Matthew Graves, who's now the head coach at Indiana State. And Brad Stevens, who's the GM of the Boston Celtics. So I had some good partners to just show me the ropes as we got into it. And those guys helped me kind of get my feet on the ground and get moving on, just how to recruit and what to ask and the questions and just the landscape of recruiting, especially because that's the part you hadn't done. You had played the game, could think the game, know the game. But the recruiting aspect of it and just that whole world is foreign to players, until you're actually in it as a coach. And
in that assistant role, obviously we're going to talk about some recruiting stuff later. It's very different today than it was back then. But talk about what's an assistant do on a staff like that? Yeah,
primarily those responsibilities, Travis. It is recruiting and evaluating players, prospects, and then their development. So you're tied into 3 or 4 guys, depending on how coach structures the staff for development, maybe by position, and the development is really life coaching, to be honest. So the part I fell in love with when I was back in the ops seats, you couldn't get on the floor at that time and actually coach, work out guys or be on the floor. So
By NCAA rule?
By NCAA rule. So you could have three assistants on the floor and the head coach. You have 4 guys that were allowed on the court, coaching. So you could be in the meetings, kind of give some input, but more kind of take notes and learn the business, learn what coaches are thinking about, talking about, all the stuff that you're like, oh man, were they saying these things about me when I was playing? But so you weren't allowed to get out there and instruct, but you could just learn. So I had the unbelievable, I've been blessed to learn from, right? Todd Licklider, Brad Stevens, Matthew Graves, Jeff Meyer. So I'm just soaking up as much as possible in terms of how to teach, right? Because some things, you feel like you know some things that are just instinctual, but how to teach, how to recruit, how to organize, how to structure, how to present and frame things up to make it bite-sized, all those things. And so when you move over to the assistant chair, it's the development of the players, the scouting and game planning, right? And practice planning, planning individual workouts, but then also the mental and emotional, relationship that you have with the players to be able to get through, the challenges and adversities of just being a student athlete, because you're waking up in the morning, you got early morning workout, weights, then you got to get to class, you got to be there on time, you got to get back and find somewhere to eat and get to study hall, you got practice, you got film, you got your individual instruction, development on the court. So this is those days get long, and obviously you're helping guys navigate just that life. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. So you're a Michigan kid, hometown. Looks like it's about halfway between Michigan State and halfway between Michigan, right? So growing up, you were Michigan State or Michigan?
What would you guess?
I'd say Michigan based upon the time that you grew up.
It was go blue, right? All day long. Yeah. I mean, 10 years old when Glenn Rice, Ramil Robinson, 89 championship. Fab Five comes through right after that. Fun fact, my high school, I'm from a small town, Albion, Michigan, and one high school, one middle school. I graduated class 107. So that was it. But when I was in middle school, we had a coach named Milton Barnes who went on to be a Division I assistant coach and then head coach at Eastern Michigan. And so we had a team that we looked up to. So in 91, my hometown team, they had 3 Division I players. They were Washington, Chris Daniels, and Monteer Glasper. David Washington went to Minnesota. Chris Daniels went to Idaho State. Monteer Glasper went to Iowa. Played with A.C. Earl and who was Jeff Settles and those guys back then. And so they went on to the state championship. So small town, the whole
town goes.
Whole community. It's like old school Indiana, no state champion. Like when you're small, you make it through the sectional or whatever, everybody's going. And so we followed them. They lose to Chris Webber, Detroit Country Day in the state championship game. And so my class coming through, we were kind of the next group that had some promise.
Yeah.
And so we make a run. Final Four my junior year, we lose. And then my senior year, we go back and we're playing Detroit Country Day in the state championship game, Shane Battier, and we lost. But it was like deja vu, and so that was what, the effect you have through sports, just the whole community and everybody, it was just like this draw, this passion, this community relationship. And everybody, still talks about to this day, kind of those runs. So you're at Butler, you're an assistant coach, and now you have the opportunity to go blue.
Yeah. Right. Very different experience. You got some Big Ten championships. You guys go play for a national championship. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I went to Iowa in the middle. So in 2007, we go to Sweet 16 with Mike Green and AJ Gray, some of those players that people are familiar with around here. And we lose to Florida when they went back-to-back. Al Horford, Joakim Noah.
Yeah, the 2007
squad. We were actually the closest game they had in the tournament because they were just, they were so good. And then Todd takes the Iowa job, and Brad gets promoted here at Butler. And we had Matt Howard signed to come in, a pretty good class. Zach Hahn from Newcastle, a good group coming in. Sean Van Zandt, who came in, and a lot of those guys that went on to make the big runs at Butler to the national championship game. So those guys were coming. But I was 27 years old at the time, and Todd was saying, hey, I want you to come to Iowa. Big Ten assistant coach at 27. So that's a unbelievable blessing. You're sitting on a good group of guards with Mike and AJ and a class coming in that you think's pretty good. So A lot of, just things to think about. My best recruiting job ever. So I met my wife in 2001. Destiny.
That's the best recruiting job.
So she had never, she went to Indiana. So Destiny, we met in 01. We got married in 04. And now here comes 07 and Todd's asking to go to Iowa. And she's like, Iowa? So, because she had never been any further than Maryville, where we lived when I was still playing, Bloomington, where she went to school, from Indy. So Iowa, that was 5.5 hours away. And it's us and our firstborn daughter, Ava. And like, we got nobody else out there except the coaches that we know. So I got her to say yes. So after that, I felt pretty confident in my recruiting abilities to be able to get her to go to Iowa. And then Michigan after that. So we were there 3 years. And in 2010, we actually got let go, didn't go as planned. And God had, he had something in store that I didn't even know.
So you take your first head coaching job.
Yeah.
Right. UW Michigan, or UW Milwaukee. And then you end up back at Butler.
Yeah.
Now, I want to reverse this because I'm interested to hear this. This is a question I thought I was actually going to open with. Is you're at your alma mater.
Yeah.
Like you've been there for a couple of years. You've had some success. And one day you get is it the call or you get to come in my office to get fired?
So.
And what is that like?
That's, so this was a call later. We had gone through, what was it? First year tournament, second year NIT, next year sitting on our best team, and then COVID, shut everything down, and then struggled to recover afterwards. So this was a call, and but it wasn't like a call that I didn't think
was possible.
Was possible at that time. Just struggled to recover from COVID. That never really got back up and running to the level that we thought. Had some injuries that affected us, and so it wasn't like out of the blue. And so that, just I think knowing that it was a possibility, you kind of mentally, emotionally, family, all the things that you could prepare for as much as possible. And then, once it happens, it happens. And at that point, as the head coach, you're just trying to make sure, because you do have some runway in terms of the contract. But as assistants and the rest of the support staff, there's no, there's no buyout, there's no multi-year. So they have to get employment like within the next 30 days. And so my responsibility at that point is to help them find something, right, land on their feet.
And the reason why I ask that question is because I think a lot of our listeners are business executives, business owners, they're climbing ladders, they're trying to grow their career. And then you get a setback, like you think you had this opportunity and you get a setback. And I think that's what I'm kind of interested in is then how do you mentally overcome, like I got to this almost pinnacle, like, my career, and now I have this setback and I got to decide what to do, how to mentally get on, how to deal with my family. What was that like for you? And how'd you overcome that?
Well, faith and relationship with Jesus Christ and the Lord, that's like step one. And so knowing that, God does things for the reasons he does. And when he does it, it may take you out of a comfort zone, but it's not really for you. It's for others to benefit from however he uses you through that. And so knowing that, helped us and helped me and our family just to understand, okay, there was an assignment and there was a calling. And then some callings are forever callings. Some callings only last, for the time that they last. And then there's another call elsewhere. And so I think that confidence of just knowing God's got a plan, he's got a purpose, on our lives. And then we can trust him and just kind of be open at that point to what may be next and try to get, you get your financial house in order, get your family piece in order. And it allowed you to spend a ton of time. It's like one of the beautiful gifts was just the time and freedom. Because when you're in the grind, like you said earlier, you're on the treadmill, you don't realize, what it's like to be off the treadmill. And you center in on what truly matters. It's like, hey, ultimately, the awards, the accomplishment, the trophies and all that, like we're not taking it with us. And so the impact on people, you just look back and kind of, here's what the last 20 years looked like in coaching and the lives that impacted and the relationships built and the really meaningful stuff. And like, okay, for the next 20, where's God want us to be? Is it still?
But you did something that's interesting in that. And I remember we go to church together, see you, say what's up. And then I'm sitting there and now you're on TV.
Yeah.
That you went a more of a TV route versus jumping right back into coaching.
Yeah.
Like, talk about that strategic decision. What was the TV world like?
Yeah. I don't know if it was strategic. Again, I can't say I planned any of it, to be honest with you. But it was just something that kind of fell into place. When I was at Michigan, there was a producer named Steve Shear. He covered us with CBS. We had a relationship during that time. Well, he moved over to Fox. And then Fox had the Big East contractually for Fox and Fox Sports 1. And just a call, as you grow. And one of the things I did in the midst of transition was, you have a network, people way bigger than you think. Most times it's like, all right, what am I going to do? How am I going to, what's going to be next? I don't know. If you just sit down and like start to think about something you might be interested in and then go through your contacts, you probably know you're one phone call away from like somebody. Yeah. And so I hit him one day and just said, hey, what do you think what do you think the possibility would be? And he's like, oh, sure. Let me talk to, such and such. My daughter happened to be, my oldest daughter's a gymnast. My middle one, Alana, does soccer. My youngest, Addie, she plays basketball. She's the only one who can get to touch the ball. So we're out in Phoenix for nationals for my oldest daughter's national gymnastics, competition. And he's like, oh, while you're out there, why don't you swing through LA on the way back and you can jump in with those guys and do like an audition and, they can at least give you some feedback if you wanted to do it maybe long, years from now or right now, whatever, you at least maybe know where you stand. And they could tell you like some stuff. So that happened. And then it was like, all right, would you want to do it and kind of see how you like it? Because you don't know, if you're going to like it. They don't know how good you're going to be at it. And it just kind of worked out. Yeah.
And so now you get ready to transition into a new job, a new role, going to take an assistant coach and GM at DePaul. Yeah. So talk about like, what are you excited about with this role? Yeah. Is new. You've had some time between your last one. What's exciting?
Yeah. The people. So what you realize in the midst of, transitions and things that happen, and I'll be 45 here soon. It's like, all right, you're sitting at halftime, hopefully. Knock on wood, right? You get to be 90, but it's like, success is fleeting. There's so many uncontrollables. Like if you have some injuries or, market goes up, market goes down, things you have, but the significance, that piece. And through the 2 years, just being able to spend time with my daughter, playing, coaching her little 5th grade team, doing small groups at the church, you're involved and you realize how significant relationships are, and you're still coaching, still leading, still
because a couple of years ago, I showed up to a gym to coach my daughter 3rd grade. I'm like, I'm coaching against Val. All right, I'm seeing how this is about to go today.
You get that backdoor play set up.
Yeah, 3rd grade versus 3rd grade. There was some seriousness happening in that gym.
Hey, your daughter's good, by the way. But no, you just the things that are like truly matter. Like significant things, and so a lot of prayer and deliberation on like, if coaching was still it, because there was time with men and community and leadership and church work, and my wife got to do some things that she hadn't done. She started a podcast and like all these things that wouldn't have happened had we not had an interruption. Mm-hmm. And so you're thankful that it actually happened. Mm-hmm. You don't know that until later. Yeah, and God knows. And so then this is exciting because you come in with. I got to go around, why you're in it. You kind of go back to your why of impacting young people and still having those relationships, those influences, being able to be their eyes 40 years down the road, things they can't see. Right now they can see NIL, right. They can see, minutes and opportunity. They can't see, ahead, and you can be that for them and be a guide. And what you did when you were a young assistant, when I first got in, that's the part that drew me in the first place. Mm-hmm. It was like, hey, basketball is basketball, 3rd grade or Division I. But the relationship, the impact, being able to put your arm around a guy and like kind of walking through and knowing and seeing that growth from here to there, mm-hmm. and that's exciting. Chris Oldman's a friend, DePaul and Jack Owens on their staff from Indy. And so, you're working with quality people and the quality of life. And so that part is exciting and there's a role in it to to try to figure out this new landscape.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because the GM role kind of playing a role that has to think about some things that are off the court now. Let's just cut to it. Like NIL collective, like it or not,
it's here.
It's here.
Train is on the tracks,
and that's changing the game. So first of all, from your perspective, how have you seen NIL change the game? For not even gonna put you on the spot with good or bad, but like, how's it changing the game right now?
Well, I think just the opportunities. I mean, if you think about, let's take that Butler team from 2010, what Gordon Hayward would have been able to benefit off his jersey being in the bookstore the following, during that run, or, those guys. I think women's sports in particular, you look at, my daughter's a gymnast, like there's opportunities for them that had never existed before, to be able to learn a lot about just the business world and life after, but at the same time, profit or make gains. Yeah. So I think the intellectual property is as important as, the whatever earnings that they can make. So I think it's good. I think it's heading, who knows how to actually get it structured in a way that's, win-win for everybody. But I think the opportunity, there's so much revenue generated that you can't deny, who they're actually coming to watch, which is the athletes.
And so you pair NIL with the other major change in like history, which is the portal.
Yeah.
Right. Talk a little about how the portal has changed the game and how coaches have to operate differently.
Certainly. I think it's, the transfer portal from what used to be where you had to sit for a year, which was so beneficial to, I think, the player, the athlete, and the coach, because there was no pressure to perform right away. Get in, get acclimated, learn the system, do the best job you could in practice, get developed if there's areas you needed to grow. And then you were ready when when it was time to play next year. And so you kind of had a plug and play, right there. And coaches knew what role you would have because they get to see you and work with you all season. Obviously now that part is gone. So you're coming in and you're inserted into a lineup, a roster and with eligibility right away. So that part's, I think getting that part, there's a sweet spot to try to figure out, all right, the players that are older, because old's always won in, I don't care if you're in the NBA, I don't care if you're in college football. There's a reason those guys, don't come in and impact the game as freshmen in college football. They're not ready. So old wins, get old and stay old has always been a model for, but it's been through recruiting and retaining and developing in the past. Now you have this portal where you can go find guys that are experienced and maybe looking for a different opportunity but they have to fit. So the hard part is making sure it's a fit because it's speed dating, when you get to the portal recruitments and looking at those prospects.
Do you think there's a good side of it though for, now if I'm an athlete, I go to a school, I get stuck in a scenario that I'm not going to play. Like I don't fit into this system. This isn't the right place for me. That now I have the opportunity to go to a place without having to go down a level. Yeah. I can still go. Do you think that's valuable for those guys?
Certainly. And I think that's always been there, right? Obviously, you didn't get to play right away in the past. But I think,
which was a major deterrent though.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to sit out. So I think I believe it's a good thing in certain coaching changes, right? For instance, your coach leaves, takes another job, or gets fired, and now you don't know who's coming in, and so you just want to make a change, right? And try to find a good fit. Like those are all good, right? For the athlete or the situation where you're, maybe you've been there a couple of years and it just hadn't worked, and that happens also. Yeah. So I think those are beneficial, for the athlete. Just chasing around trying to chase
a bag, right?
Trying to chase a bag,
is that, right? It's very different than chasing a right fit and culture, all those things.
Yeah.
But kids do have that opportunity now to not only leave school with potentially no debt, but also now change the face of how they're leaving college going, I got money. And then I think we saw this in this year's NCAA. It feels like it's making more teams way more competitive than it ever has, which seems like a good thing on the surface.
Yeah, I think, parity is something that is exciting to watch. It's like, man, this a team that, has never maybe done it before. Now they're in it. Everybody loves watching the Butler make the run, the Florida Atlantic make the run, San Diego State and those teams. So now I think the piece of getting right, what's really marketplace, market value, people throwing out imaginary numbers and you're trying to get to what's real and what's not, so that it is, because there's a lot of good in it. And
because now that we just basically, there's no salary cap basically now, there's no equal playing field. Whoever has the deepest pockets now can manipulate the game at some level.
Yeah,
right?
and on some level that's existed in the past, whether it was above the board or not.
Yeah.
Right. And so the truth is, right, there's always been a hierarchy. Now you're just trying to figure out how to keep something sustainable. I think that's the big word is, so some sustainability for this new landscape to work.
Before I put you on the hot seat, I had one other question I really wanted to ask, and that is, you hear about this coaching life, which is a grind, and what's the personal life? You have a wife, you have two daughters, like being a good Christian husband, father, which I know is important. How do you balance that and still chase, your dream?
Yeah, especially now when I've had plenty of time there, right? Because when you're in the TV and the media, like once the game's over, like it's over. I don't have to worry about the press conference and the team meeting and the parents and any of that. It's like, what's for dinner after the game's over? So now getting back into that and making sure I think there's things just in life in general, we all have to, sit down and think about what's important to you and then protect the time for those things. And I think one of the things that I learned in these past couple of years in transition has been, it's not time management, it's energy management. Mm-hmm. And so where your energy flows, if you're not present, even if it's 10 minutes with your daughter, but your mind's still thinking about the recruiting phone calls and all the list of stuff. And so, that this period's allowed me to really get quiet and learn how to get quiet and prioritize, quiet time, worship and devotion with, exercise and, just making sure you protect the things that matter, right? So you can do the thing that you want to do, for an extended period. Because if you run out of, if that goes dry, or if you're not really intentional or centered there, like you're gonna run out of gas and not be able to do that thing, the vocation that you have these gifts you've been given for anyway, right?
So I have to ask this one other question that I really wanted to ask and I almost forgot it. So you're, understand basketball through and through. When you see youth basketball today, so you're coaching it at some level, I have my daughter's, she's kind of like checked out, but she can go through some emotions a little bit. But my son, like he's all about it. He is all about it. Knows every NBA player, knows their numbers, knows what they're doing. He watched the stuff, like he's in it, right? He's in it for WNBA draft tonight, like all of it, right? What are you saying to parents though that are trying to figure this out for their kids, right? What how much should they play, and what should they be working on? And do they need a trainer, and all like what is it? When you see that, what do you think?
I try to emphasize just focus on development. I think competition, winning, lose. You're in third grade, or like again, I've been coaching my fourth grade, fifth grade the last couple of years, my daughter, and it's just let's get better at basketball. And so. If we're so focused on winning and losing the games, and that's me at heart. At my core is the developmental of the whole person, because it's like allowing them to fail, making sure they can emotionally handle, somebody being better than them not getting attention, them not playing. All those are good things, and how you help them handle and develop emotionally. And mentally through those things is like part of it. It's just part of becoming who you're supposed to become, but really focusing on fundamental development. I think that's, you start watching. So my oldest daughter does gymnastics. Think about this, like they are not allowed to do certain things until they can progress because of the risk of injury. It's like the third highest sport is like football, cheerleading, and gymnastics are the three highest injury sports. So you can't go to level 5 from level 4. You really take a big jump to get from 5 to 6 because now you're going airborne. So you aren't allowed to just try like what Steph Curry tries. You'll get hurt.
Right.
But basketball doesn't have that type of progression in the sport because there's no injury risk. right? Like my daughter can't try what Simone Biles tries when she's a level 5. Like you can watch it and be in awe, but you can't actually go out there and make an attempt. So basketball has that. You can just go out there and shoot from half court and think you're James Harden, but there's no real
Right.
Consequence to it. So I think that's if you could just kind of close that and stay on a progression, it'd be great for the game.
Yeah, love the idea of fundamentals. I'm telling my 5th and 6th grade girl team, like we're gonna learn the game.
Yeah.
We're gonna get better, and we're gonna have enough fun that you want to come back and do it again.
Yeah,
do it next year, right? So, all right, I gotta move to the hot seat. All right, here we go. You're on the Mojo hot seat.
You coaches a hot seat, like that's bad. That's a bad thing. Right? That's a bad analogy.
All right, that's right. All right, this ain't gonna be hot as that. I promise that. All right, favorite place of vacation.
Whew. So there's a place in All Gray. You wanna know where All Gray is? It's on Lake Erie. So if you're looking at Michigan, everybody goes up north. Mm-hmm. There's a spot right over here that we used to go to and rent out every fall and stay for like 6 days. And like it was the best ever. My girls remember it. They'll tell all the stories.
Favorite restaurant or favorite food to eat?
Favorite restaurants here or in general?
Your answer.
Man, we love the HC Tavern here in Fishers.
Okay.
That's like the birthday spot for our family.
A brand you love to support?
So I've got a buddy that has his own brand called Aristocratic Men. Anton Chase is his name. So he's up and running, and so I love wearing the stuff. He's getting into accessories now, belts and bags and wallets. So
there you have it. Favorite professional sports team?
I root for Friends. So this is that was a hard one because I just people in the business. I root for the Colts.
There you go.
Again, because I know Chris Ballard and our daughters did gymnastics together, so he's a friend. But yeah, I roll with the Colts.
Here you go. Mike, Kobe, or LeBron?
Oh, you want to get into that conversation?
I mean,
Who am I picking?
Yeah.
Michael. I'm picking Michael.
Playing the Natty or coaching the Natty?
Playing. If I could have played, if we would have been good enough.
Favorite TV show you watch?
I don't watch a lot of TV now. I watch old school TV, but
Which is what?
like my daughter likes Fresh Prince,
There you
so
go.
we'll watch that together. She knows the little intro song. Mm-hmm. They don't have that no more. Like
Right.
the intro songs, we knew them all, right?
My kids went back and watched that series too. And I enjoyed them watching it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're gonna love this, Most of them look at the blurriness of it show and they're frustrated. But all right, favorite athlete. How about growing up? Favorite athlete.
Growing up, it was Michael Jordan, and if I had like a secondary, at the time it was Penny Hardaway, like favorite basketball player.
Yeah.
Non-basketball, I loved Jerry Rice.
An entertainer that you love to follow or watch or listen to.
I still do a lot of Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Obviously, with Mike gone, it's a little more dialed down just how much I'm listening to that stuff now.
Mm-hmm. A favorite actor, actress.
Probably Denzel. I can't imitate Denzel. But
Right, I've been good right now. If you
Can't do the impression.
If you did that right. Mac or PC?
Mac.
iPhone or Android?
I'm a part of the revolution.
Right.
The Apple revolution.
The gaming station you played as a kid?
PlayStation, all the way up until 3. I know.
You young kid.
All the way up until, it was Nintendo. You go way back
That's
now.
what I'm talking.
Atari.
I'm an Atari, Nintendo.
Nintendo was
Sega.
like until I don't even know if I ever got a Sega. I did, I think, late, but I was like one of the last ones to. But I remember getting my Nintendo back. It was like a big birthday, like whole deal, man. Super hype.
A movie that if it's on, you'll watch it.
Every single time. Gladiator.
Yes, that's my top 5 too. Type of music. What do you listen to?
Gospel, Christian. A little bit of try to listen to a little bit of what my daughters are listening to make sure it's okay.
Well, you already know it's not okay. So, a book you recommend?
Two Chairs by Bob Bodine.
Okay. A nonprofit or a cause you support?
So we're part of this Village to Village. My wife and I. It's a way to give back to support a child in Africa through education. So, we give to that and show the girls that there's a pen pal relationship with the girl there and our daughter. So it's pretty neat.
This wasn't a question on here, but name of wife's podcast. What's her podcast?
So it's Sports Mom Rapport. So it's my wife Destiny Jordan and her friend Tara Clapper, and so they co-host and bring on with the idea to highlight moms, because typically it's the dads in the background, the athlete, but the moms are the ones holding it down, the minivans, like driving this activity, that, making the schedule and going through and so they get moms a chance to get highlighted of the athletes.
Well, I'm going to have to talk to her, get my wife on there.
Give them some shine. Give
some shine for sure, right? Last question of the day. Everyone, has a number they were born, a number of date they're born. They got a dash, and they had this date when they pass away. When that happens, and people look at your dash, what you did in your life.
Yeah.
What do you want them to say about you?
That's a tremendous question. You ask everybody that question? Mm-hmm. Shoot, that goes deep. For me, it would be that he led others to know who Christ is and find their true identity and freedom in who they are. And I think part one goes to part two, because just being your best authentic self, when you know who you are, and freedom in a lot of ways, but that's at my core, like what it's about.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming by today to chop it up with me. I forgot to tell you this on the front side of it. You get to do
I get to do it?
You get to do it. This is the wrap.
I don't even know how to do this. I never did this. That's a wrap.